Hello and welcome to our Easter webinar. Today I'm going to show you how I made this Easter themed cushion. Now, although it's Easter themed, you could make it as a cushion for spring or something for a birthday present. There's lots of different options, but today we have got our Happy Easter cushion. And I just wanted to show you what you can do if you have the brilliant combination of a sewing machine, an embroidery unit, and the Bernina software. If you have those three elements together, really the options are limitless. You can be so creative with those three tools. And I'm going to show you how I used each one in the making of this cushion. Now, for today, I'm using the beautiful Kaffe Fasset 570 Quilters Edition machine, which has this really gorgeous faceplate that Kaffe Fasset designed. And I'm also going to be using some of the lovely built-in embroidery designs which he created, which were he took from the big blooms fabric, which I've also used here. So these are some examples of those stitched out. The main focus of today's webinar is going to be how I created this central wreath. Now, in the Designer Plus software, you have a really brilliant tool called the Wreath tool, and it lets you digitize just one section, and then you can tell it how many repeats you want, and you can create really, really eye-catching effects. So we're going to be looking at that. And then finally, we're going to be looking at using our Bernina Stitch Regulator to free motion quilt these top sections. So lots of fun stuff to cover. Let's get started. So the first thing I did was I designed my middle section for my cushion. I knew I wanted to have a wreath effect around the edge with Happy Easter in the middle. And because I was using the Wreath tool, I knew I only needed to design one section. So I had to play around with some sort of spring-like Easter images. And in the end, I drew out this little leaf and flower arrangement. And I just coloured it in so it was nice and dark. So when I took a picture of it, I could easily see it on my software because I'm going to use that as my background and I'm going to manually digitize that. So I'd done that. That's my first stage. Then I had to think about how I wanted the rest of the cushion to look. And I'd already decided that I wanted to have the lovely big bloom designs in the corner. I thought they'd fit perfectly. So I worked out which design I wanted to go in each corner. And then I already had the lovely big blooms fabric. So that sort of decided what colours I was going to use in the project. So I roughly mapped it all out. And then I was ready to go over to my laptop to start digitising.
Great, so I've gone over to my laptop and I'm going to start digitizing the design. Now, because I'm using the Wreath tool, as I said earlier, I only need to do one section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the leaves, which are going to be green. So I'm going to go down and select the green color. And I also want it to be an outline. So I'm going to tell it I wish it to be an outline like a running stitch. So we have all the options along the bottom, all our stitches along here and all the different colors down here. Now then I'm going to go over to my toolboxes. So when you're using the software, basically you're taking your design and you're creating a file that your sewing machine can understand. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can auto-digitize, which is when the computer scans your design and it turns it into an embroidery file for you. So it makes a lot of the decisions for yourself, for itself, it auto-digitizes. Or you can use your artwork as a backdrop and you can manually digitize it. So you can trace over it to create your design. And if you manually digitize, it just gives you a lot more control. You can you can decide exactly what stitch is going to go where and what order. You obviously can still edit it at the end, but if I'm working on something quite simple, then often I like to use the manual digitize tools. So I'm going to go over and click on where it says Digitize, and this opens them up. So you have various different options. We have open object and closed object, and we're going to look at those a little bit later when I digitize the little flower. But what I wanted to show you was the Open Freehand tool. Now, this isn't available on the Creator software, but if you did have the Creator software, then you could still create a lovely design just using the other tool, the other design options. You know, you could use an open object. But in Designer Plus, I can use the Open Freehand tool. Now, you can enter this in using, you know, the trackpad on your laptop or a mouse or even a tablet and a pen. But what I love about this tool is you know, I've drawn my design freehand, so it's quite a loose design, and I want to get over that feeling of sort of a free motion when I finally stitch it out. So using the freehand tool really helps me do that. It doesn't look so structured. It looks like I've just free motioned it. So to start off, I'm going to select my open freehand tool, and I'm just going to draw around my design. So we're going to start off with the little fern shape. So we can just go round. And I found when I'm using this, if I stop when I change direction, then that gives me a better effect. It just works better. So I can just go all the way around, and it can be quite loose, as I said, because it's supposed to have a bit of energy, be a bit free motion. So I'm just going to trace all around this little leaf. That just gives you an idea of just how easy it is to use. I'm just going to do this tiny little section at the end, and then I'm going to have it coming all the way down to the bottom of that leaf. Great. So that's how easy the freehand tool is, and I often like to use that if I, as I say, if I want something that's not quite so structured. So I'm going to go and just finish off my other leaves, and then we'll come back and we'll look at how I use the closed object tool to do my little daisy. Okay, so I finished doing all my open freehand work, the green section, which were the leaves and the stems, and now I'm going to move on to just doing my little daisy. So for that, I'd like my daisy to be pink, and so I'm going to choose a closed object because they're closed objects, the little petals. So yeah, I would like it to be pink, and it's going to be a satin stitch for the little petals. So what I need to do for that is I need to digitize round the edge. So I'm going to start off with a straight point, and then I'm going to move round with curved points. So it's a right click for a curved point and a left click for a straight point. And then I can just press enter, and that will join them together. And I'm just going to work my way around. So straight point. In fact, I can use my mouse for that. Yeah, so a curved point, end on a straight point, join them together, enter, and that's got them joined up. So I can just quickly do those. Now, I'm not too worried about the direction of the stitching at the moment because I'm going to go in and I'm going to change all that. But just for speed, we'll just quickly whiz around this. Okay, so that's all the sections done. Now, what I'd like to do is change the direction of these stitches because they're all going in more or less the same direction. I want them to kind of fan out. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it off artistic view so I can see what's going on, and I'm going to select reshape because I'm going to change the angle of the stitching. So my reshape button was up here. I've clicked on that, and I'm just going to zoom in so we can really see what we're doing. Now the angle line is this little line here with the orange. It's quite small. Maybe I can go in a bit bigger. Can we see that? It's quite small. It's this little line there, and I can touch that, drag and move it across. So I'm going to change the angle there, and then it's automatically done it for. And then if I show you again in artistic view, it's going across, which looks much better. So what we'll do is we'll just work our way round. So I'm just going to select that, go into reshape and work my way around. So I'll do that, and when I've finished I'll come back and show you that. So I've gone round and I've changed the direction on all these little petals so that it looks a bit more attractive. I think that'll stitch out nicely. Now I want to do a little centre to my flower. So again, I'm going to choose, for this I'm going to choose an ellipse because I'm creating a little circle and I want it to be purple. So I've selected those options, and then I can just digitize my circle, press enter twice, And there we go, I've got a little circle. It's so quick and easy. That's brilliant. So I've done the circle in the different color, and then I'm going to press, I'm going to zoom out, and the next thing I'm going to do is, it's like a little bluebell that I've got going on down here, and I'm going to do that in the same color. So what I'm going to do is zoom in on that, and then again, I'm going to use a closed object for this. So we're going to select closed object, and I'm just going to digitize using my left and right clicks, beeping around. I quite like the beeps because it tells you exactly what you know what you're doing. So I'm going to press enter. So that has created it as a solid block of fill. But what I want to do is I'm going to use one of the effects, the ripple effect, which I think is really fun. It's one of the different stitch types you can use. So I'm just going to click on that. And there we go. I think it looks so cute. I love that. I love the ripple effect. So again, and I think that looks almost a bit free motion. It's quite decorative. So that's what I'm going to fill my flower shape with. So if we go back and have a look, we can see we've digitized the whole design now. So what we're going to do now is we can get rid of our background of our artwork because we don't need that anymore. And this is what we're going to repeat, what we're going to use for our wreath. We're going to stick that all together, group it all together, and then turn that into the wreath design. So that's what we'll look at in the next section. Okay, so now we're going to move on to look at the mirror merge tools. Now I really love these tools. They're really, you can create some really effective results really quick and easily by using the various different options. So what I've done is I've taken my design, I've grouped it all together so the computer sees it as one, and then we can have a look at some of the things you can do within mirror merge. So I've clicked on the folder in the toolboxes, and if I wanted to mirror merge something horizontally, I can do. So we could just press enter there, and look, we've got a really lovely effect with them mirrored. So you can do mirror design that way. Just going to undo that. You can also mirror a design vertically. If you can imagine, this could be, I don't know, on a collar or a pocket, something like that. You could use this tool if we go back. But the one I really like is the Wreath tool. So what we can do, so it's you can duplicate selected objects around a central axis. So I'm going to click on that. Now, you can change the number of repeats you have in it. Now, I want 5. I've had a play around with it and I found 5 worked well before. And as you can see, I've digitized a circle. This is just to give me a guide because I know I want to use my MIDI hoop, so I just wanted to see roughly what size circle I could fit in my MIDI hoop. So I've digitized that a moment ago using my ellipse tool, but basically I'm going to get rid of that line, that orange line of stitching, because I don't need it. But let's just play around with putting these in place. So I want them to kind of almost touch, so it's not going to be exactly on the orange line, but just gives me a rough guide. And then when I'm happy with it, I can just click on there, and there we go. Let's hope so we can see that. Doesn't that look pretty? And that was so easy. I didn't need to digitize each section or work out exactly where it was going to go. Just with one click of using that Wreath tool, I've got it all set up for me, and that looks really nice. So that's brilliant. So what I'm going to do is then I can just go down and get rid of that orange line. So I've just selected it and deleted it because I don't need it. So that's my wreath done. Finally, I just need to pop my lettering in because I want it to say Happy Easter. So I can go into my lettering toolbox, just going to close that down. So I can open my lettering toolbox and I can right click where it says lettering, and I just need to type in my Happy Easter on 2 lines. I want center justification to click on that, and I'm going to change it to Stella, the font. We've got so many lovely fonts built in the software. It was really hard to choose. I knew I wanted a kind of a scripty style font, but then again, there's still loads of options. So I went, after playing around earlier, I decided I'd go for Stella. So let's see if I can find that. Just scroll through here. As I say, there's so many lovely options. Nearly there. Where is it? Oh, there we go. Click on that, and I love the way it shows you roughly what it, well, not roughly, it shows you exactly what it's going to look like, and it also gives you a rough guide on how tall each letter can be. So it's between 10 and 25 millimeters, and I've tried it and it works really well on this project. So I'm going to click on apply and OK, and just click on there, and then all I need to do, I think that looks great. I'm going to change the color because it's going to be, oh no, it's going to be blue. And then I just need to drag it to make it a bit bigger. It's so easy to do. Just drag and drop it where you want it on your design. And that's it, pretty much done. So now all I need to do is save that onto my USB key, take it over to my lovely Kaffe Fasset Edition 570 Quilters edition and stitch it out.
So this is my favourite bit of the whole process. You've designed your embroidery, you've taken it to the computer and you've digitised it, and now it's going to come to life when you stitch it out, and I really love this bit. I've grouped all my colours together, so it's going to do all the green, all the leaves, then it's going to move on to all the flowers, and then it's going to do the lettering. So I've simplified the running order a little bit, but I'm really excited to see how it turns out. So I think we're all ready to get stitching now. So I'm using my MIDI hoop, and I can just press and hold, and away we go. So we've finished stitching that out, and I'm really happy with the way it's turned out. I think it looks really nice. Now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to embroider the corner panels. So the next stage is to stitch out the lovely big bloom designs. So these designs are the same designs that are on the faceplate, and they've been digitised especially to go on this machine, and they're built into the machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my folders, and I'm going to take out a new design from my sewing machine, and it's in the folder with the butterfly, which is all the built-in designs. And then I can scroll up, and because I'm on a Kaffe machine, I have a special Kaffe folder, so I'm going to tap on that, and that's going to open up all the designs. Now these are big blooms, so they are quite big, and they were a bit too big for what I wanted, so I am going to make them slightly smaller. Now the one I think I want to use is, it's this one, number 9. So I'm just going to select that. Now it is quite big. Now I want to be able to do it in a medium hoop. So I'm just going to select the medium hoop so I get an idea of scale. Now obviously it's not going to fit, its current size, it won't fit in that hoop. So I need to go into information, and I need to make it smaller. So I'm going to take it down to about 80%. Take it right down to 80%. And that's still going to stitch out nicely because the way they've been designed, the stitches are quite long, so shrinking them down, it still works fine. So we're going for 80%, I can come out of that, and then I can go out into my stitch out screen, and then I'm going to thread up and stitch it out. Okay, so all the embroidery's been done now. I'm really happy with it all. I think the colours all work really nicely. So the next stage is to sew it all together. So I'm going to sew them in rows first of all, and then sew the rows together using a 1/4 inch seam. So I'm going to go over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to use my foot 97, which is my 1/4 inch foot, and the dual feed, and that will be a nice, easy, smooth job sewing all those together. Great, so now I'm going to sew my rows together. I've taken my embroidery unit off, and now I'm using the sewing machine side of my sewing machine. I'm going to use foot 97D, and I've told my machine that that's what the foot I've got on, so it knows what I'm doing. The wonderful thing about 97D is that it's dual feed, so I can engage my dual feed, so I can just bring my dual feed lever back down, and it's clipped into the back of the foot, so that's going to help me. And also on this foot, because I have a 9mm stitch width, one side, the left side, is wider, so it makes better contact with my feed dog, so I get a nice smooth result. So having dual feed and having the wider side to the foot really helps my fabric feed through nicely. So I'm just going to sew all my rows together, and away we go. So I'm just going to lower it down. So I'm using the edge of the foot as a guide, and I've also got some markings on the stitch plate and further down here. So that keeps everything nice and even. And away I go. My pins out. When I get to the end, I'm just going to press my reverse, just do 2 tiny little stitches, and then I've got my scissors to trim. And that's it, and I'm going to carry on across the rest of the project. So I've sewn the top all together, that's all constructed, and now I'm going to move on to quilting it because I want it to have a nice quilted effect. So what I've done is I've got my quilt sandwich ready, so I've got my backing fabric, and I've got some wadding. This is just a medium weight polyester wadding, and then I've got my top. I've pinned it all together, and now I'm going to stitch in the ditch all the way down in a grid pattern across to hold it all together, and then I'm going to use my Bernina Stitch Regulator to quilt the patterned fabric, the big blooms fabric. I think this is the pastel colourway, if anyone wants to know. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go over to my machine, and I'm actually going to use foot 97D for my stitch in the ditch. I could have used a foot 10D, but I think just for ease, I've got it on the machine. Now I'm going to go for a 97, and I can see quite clearly what I'm doing. So I'm going to go and start that. Just securing at the start, and then I'm just going to go very slowly and steadily down the lines. So the next stage is to free motion quilt the patterned fabric. Now I'm going to use my Bernina Stitch Regulator for this. Now this is my Bernina Stitch Regulator here. It comes in this lovely tin. Now this is just brilliant. So what the Bernina Stitch Regulator does is it keeps all your stitches nice and even, so you don't get any big long loopy stitches. it monitors how quickly you move your fabric. And if you move your fabric quickly, it speeds the motor of the machine up, it stitches faster. And if you move your fabric slower, it slows down. So it gives you really great results. And what I like about this is it allows you to be really creative. It means you're not worrying about, moving your fabric and keeping it all exactly the same speed. You can just relax into what you're doing and really let your creativity flow and really work on your design instead of worrying about how long each stitch is. So the foot comes with 3 different soles. We have like a standard kind of darning foot sole, and to take them off, you just pinch the lugs, pull, and it comes off. Then we have an open toe sole. I'm not sure if you can see that. That's quite good if you're following a pattern. But the one I prefer to use is this nice clear foot, because you can really see exactly where you're going with it, and it kind of flattens everything down as you move over. And then we just click that into place like that. Now we can attach it to the machine. So it attaches like a normal foot. We've got a normal shank attachment here, but we've got this cable that we need to plug in. So I'm just going to attach this. So it attaches, as I say, like a normal foot. I'm going to pop that up and underneath there, and then we have to plug it in to the back. Pop that in, and then my screen will change. So it's telling me I need to drop my feed dogs because we're free motion. We don't want the feed dogs up. And I want to reduce my foot pressure because I want to be able to move my fabric smoothly. So I'm going to take that down to about 10, I think. We'll see how we go with that, and I can come out of that. So I'd like to use mode 2. Now what happens is when you use mode 2, if you move your fabric, it will sew, but when you stop, it stops. So that gives you a chance to think, oh, where do I want to go? Do I want to go this direction, that direction? And it's really quite relaxing, I find, using mode 2. So 2 is white, so I know I'm on mode 2, and now I'm ready to start to sew. So I've brought my bottom thread up, and both my threads are underneath my foot. Now I'm going to press and hold, and the red light goes on, so I know it's active, it's ready. And then when I move my fabric, it will start to sew. And then I can just stitch away. And then when I stop, it stops, and I can just reposition my hands. And then when I smooth my fabric again, I can start to sew again. So I'm basically just going to do a kind of a vermicelli type design all over this, just so it holds it in place. Some nice sweeping curves, just for a bit of extra detail. As I say, when I stop, it stops, and then I can just move my hands, and away we go. I'm actually just going to reduce my foot pressure a little bit more because I'm finding it a little bit tight. And then press and hold again, red, and now we can carry on. Stop with my needle down so that anchors it. I'm just going to pop these pins out and then press and hold. The light's on, and I can carry on. Just finish this last section off. So lovely and smooth. Love it. That's one section done. I'm going to work my way around and finish all the other sections off. Okay, so that's us finished. The top is done. I have quilted the sections I wanted to quilt, which were the patterned fabric areas, and I stitched in the ditch to hold it all together. And that's it, ready to be turned into a cushion. So as if by magic, I've already made one into a cushion. So that's what I'm going to do with the top I've just made. You can you can do whatever you want to the back of it. I've just gone for a simple envelope style cushion back, but you could put a zip in it, or you could put buttons on it, whatever you wanted to do. I'm really happy with this project. I love projects where I get to use all my toys. I've got to use the software, I've got to use the sewing machine, I've got to use the embroidery unit, I've even got to do some free motion quilting, and I love combining all those different techniques to create something really special. So I think if you were going to make this project for a friend or a family member, this would be a lovely gift to give to Easter. And also you can bear in mind that this technique could be used for lots of different things. You could use it for tablecloths. You could use it for, it could say happy birthday, doesn't need to say happy Easter. So there's lots of different options, but yeah, it's been really fun using all the different elements, and it's particularly fun using the lovely Kaffe 570 Quilters edition, because the colours are very me. I do love it. Okay, thank you very much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.